number one thing in my world of business philosophy is delegation. Delegate, delegate, delegate. The more you delegate, the more you grow. People afraid to hire people and to delegate functions to them because they're afraid, oh, nobody's going to do it the way I do it. Like there's a huge Russian misconception that nobody can do it the way I can do it. So that's why I do everything.
Welcome to the Cleaning Journey podcast, where we talk about the real stories behind building cleaning businesses that actually work. I'm your host, Misa. I started my business back in 2018 from scratch, and I built it into a 7-figure cleaning company. Now I sit down with other cleaning business owners to share their wins, their losses, their struggles, and their experiences that have helped them grow. Whether you're just getting started or you're already scaling, this is your place to learn, get inspired, and also level up your business and life. Let's jump in. So Boris, you started off with telling the audience who you are, where you're from, what your cleaning business is all about, and then what do you do as a cleaning business as a cleaning business owner each day?
Sure. So I'm originally from Russia. I came here with my parents when I was 15, and I actually went a very conservative route: high school, college, got a job. I was working for like 10 years in the corporate world. My last job was with Ernst & Young. But I always had this entrepreneurial streak that I wanted to develop. I wanted to do, I wanted to be better than just to go to the office 9 to 5. Back then it was 9 to 5. There was no working from home thing. So yeah, so my first business was I opened crepes, like a crepe cart. I told my boss, Steve, I'm opening a crepe cart. He laughed at me a little bit. I was working Deutsche Bank, right? So he laughed at me and goes, all right, I'll come and visit you once in a while. So he did come visit me once in a while. It was on Broadway. If you're familiar with New York, it's like the busiest block, in the city. I literally had to fight wars to kind of earn my spot because it's on the street, right? It's on the sidewalk. So make the long story short, great product. I was making crepes. I had lines, any weather I was working there from 10 to 6. I had lines all the time. Eventually, cops started coming because I was like a half a feet, they see a line every time. So they started coming and giving me tickets because I was like, no matter where I'd stand on the sidewalk, I was like about a foot closer to the door than the law allowed. So they chased me off there and I had to change location. And ultimately I sold the cart and I went back to working for Steve. Only he took me back as a consultant, right? When I was making like 150,000, and this was 2003, 2004. So I left from $60,000 job to $150,000 job because I was a consultant. And the moral of the story is that you can get comfortable, right? You have to take chances. And once you get chances, even if you think that, this is horrible, why did I do this? Things work out the way they're supposed to work out, and you ultimately end up on top, right? So
Yeah.
I thought I made a mistake, but ultimately this was like the biggest win at the time of my career when I was working in corporate. So that's what I wanted to communicate, kind of that, take chances, right? Get out of the comfort zone. I was sitting in the same desk for 3 years, making $60,000 a year, and I didn't develop. I didn't grow. And I took that chance even though maybe I was young. It was a bad decision, but ultimately, it turned out to be the best decision of my corporate career anyway. So I came back. So back then I didn't know anything about operations, about systems, about quality control, about running a business, right? So I was doing everything on my own. So that was my first business venture. Then a couple of years later, after I was already in advisory role for a couple of years, I started the gold buying business, Cash for Gold. This was like a perfect storm, 2008. Gold went like to $2,000 an ounce. And everybody had so much gold from the 80s, from the 70s, from the 90s. People were literally bringing, bags of gold to melt, right? And get
Wow.
cash. Yeah, so I still reminisce about that business. I was working on Ernst & Young, and I was literally every Thursday I was going to melt to a refinery, and I was carrying like a sports bag full of gold and cash. And I was on the New York City subway.
Yeah. Oh
But
my goodness.
so
What
at
an
that
experience.
time, yeah, I know, right? So at that time, I already kind of understood how to run the business a little bit, and I was scaling it more, right? I was still working Ernst & Young. I had 4 offices at the time. I was delegating much more. I already had somewhat of a system. So I was able to manage the business, without physically being there. So that was my second venture. I did that for about 5 years, this was the best, the best times from 2008, 2014. The supply started drying up already by 2014. So at that time, I started like, I definitely don't want to go back to Ernst and Young. I definitely don't want to go back to corporate. I was so used to this lifestyle where, I kind of, I'm in charge of my own time. Cash is coming in. I feel my self-esteem is on top because I feel like I'm an entrepreneur, right? I'm the business owner, not just an operator. So I started thinking of what to do. And when I roll back a little bit. When we just came here, 92, briefly, I had a quick stunt with selling rainbow machines. These are vacuums, special vacuums that work on water. So I remember that. I remember that experience. Plus, I was living in a luxury building right here, not far from where I live now. And this lady that was kind of only cleaning the units in the building. She was kind of going from floor to floor, from apartment to apartment, and doing house cleaning, right? So I thought that would be a great idea if it could be scaled, right? Because I have a lot of multifamily here. All I have to do is make some attractive presentations and visit some property managers and start relationships with them so we can provide a housekeeping service as in hotels, but in a residential setting. So that's how we started. So I coupled my water vacuum with this approach, and that's how we started. This was 2014. We're in business for 10 years now, for a little bit more than 10 years. So, and then the team started growing. The first person I
Yeah.
hired was off Craigslist. Like right now, I would never go to Craigslist to hire a person, right? It's one of those experiences where you don't know what you're doing yet, but you're just doing it and things work out, right? It goes
Yeah.
back to this universe, how it puts things together for you when it's really needed. And we just do things. You don't overthink, you just do them.
Just
That's
get
my
faster
introduction.
at making decisions.
Yeah,
Yeah, especially from the bad ones that we make that didn't work out, then
right.
we get to learn from them and then start making better decisions. So you got into the cleaning industry and that sparked the idea because you saw someone cleaning in your building, you said?
That's right. Yeah. So I saw someone cleaning in my building, almost like because I traveled a lot. I worked in advisory. I worked for Ernst and Young, and I traveled 60% of the time. I traveled. Right. I had projects everywhere, all over the country. I had projects in London. I had projects everywhere. Right. So I was traveling, and I got so used to the hotel life that it kind of stuck with me, and I kind of enjoy it. I kind of enjoyed it. I can't lie. I kind of enjoyed it, to come home to a clean room every day. Right? You leave, the housekeeping comes and they clean your room. So the idea was to provide this. One of the options was this luxury plan where we would come in every day, basically. And just back then it was pre-pandemic, right? It was 2014. People were going to offices every day. There was no such thing as work from home. There was no Zoom. There were no conference meetings online. Everybody had to go to the office. So the idea was when people leave, they don't make their bed, they don't take out the garbage, don't wash the dishes. They just go to work. When they come back, everything is tidied up. Right? The bed is made, the dishes are washed, the garbage is taken out, whatever we can do in half an hour or 40 minutes that we have allocated, do some dusting, whatever, quick dusting, quick wiping, just make sure that everything's presentable when they come back. So we made those plans very flexible. Like some people would have a deep cleaning every 2 weeks and us coming in for a tidy up every day. But what the idea is that once you're in a building, it's so much easier to leverage to go from one apartment to the next rather than rather traditional cleaning company. You have to travel, right? You have to take a car, it takes so much time. So it's so much easier to travel from apartment to apartment than from home to home. So that was the original idea. We still have that. We still have those, we call them in-network buildings. So those buildings that we have relationships with, we do cocktail hours there once in a while. We do like breakfast and we give them a little bit of a discount, to those clients that live in those buildings. We call them in-network. And then your traditional house cleaning is just, we call it out of network. And these are regular prices that we charge.
So with all of that experience that you've had in your life, especially, I mean, from selling crepes, do you have a secret recipe for that?
For what? For the crepe or for the business?
For the crepes?
For the crepes, I didn't do the crepes. I had this lady she was doing it at home, right? She was making like the best chicken in sour cream with mushrooms, like a really good savory crepe. Obviously I had simple, more simple sweet crepes. But what happened one time is that I was picking up the batter from her. I don't even know, like I make crepes at home once in a while, but not from my experience as a business. She gave like I was picking up like the whole basket of batter, and it's milk based. And I was driving an Infiniti QX4. It's like a luxury car back then, right? And that whole thing spilled in my trunk.
Oh man.
This was in the winter. So by the time summer comes, by the time spring and it gets warm, I see little insects flying around. It starts smelling really, really bad. Ultimately, by end of May, it smelled so bad that me and my father, we took it to his friend's house. We opened up the whole carpet from the whole car, and what we saw was filled with those white insects. Like, what are they called?
Kind of like maggots in a way.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
Exactly. There's like everywhere in wiring, in the flooring, everywhere.
my goodness.
We took water and we just it was great. And
Mm.
the God, it was a lease. I ultimately got rid of it, but
Yeah. Wow. So
Mhm.
from selling crepes to working for a big company, big corporation, to then just getting the experience of living in a hotel to saying, hey, you know what? I can do this. Did you start off by hiring people right away to do the cleaning, or did you do both jobs at the same time?
Yeah. So the
Or did you
first
do the business and the job?
Well, I was still doing gold, right? All my ventures kind of intermingled a little bit, right? When I was working at Ernst& and Young, I started gold. I was still working at Ernst& and Young. When I was still doing gold, I closed a couple of offices, but I was already starting cleaning business. So the key here is, I guess, the advice here I have is once you see that something is drying up, think of plan B right away and start implementing it while you're still doing plan A, right? So I was still doing the gold. I still had a couple of offices at that time. Yes. So I think I mentioned I hired my first employee off of Craigslist. Like it was yesterday, I remember. She's still with me to this day. She's still with me to this day. She's like my second mom, right? Her name is Dina. So we started doing this one building, right? And she was only working in that building. So it was kind of, it was convenient. I didn't have to drive around from house to house. So yeah, so I hired one once back then. Again, every business first, it's an infant, right? It's an infant. When it's an infant, you really have to, make sure that you can make it walk. You help it walk, you help it crawl. Or it doesn't really walk by itself yet. So yes, I was, much wearing many hats, and she was cleaning. I was helping her clean, and once she got busy, she brought her husband in, right? So her husband was helping her. I can't believe I did this like back then. Now that I think back, you making me think back to all these to this time, and I remember my thought. Like I thought it was normal at the time, but because you're in infantry, you don't know what a developed business should be like. To me, it was normal, but right now, it probably would never do it. Also, I'm like, I can't believe I did this, right? So it was her husband. She brought in her husband. But then I saw some lady walking on the street with a mop. I said, "Hey, you want a job?" She started working for me, and that's how we kind of started growing and got more buildings in, and perfected our process and started writing procedures. But I was still doing a lot of administrative stuff, right? I remember with a girlfriend at the time, we went to Canes. We went to Canes and Monaco on vacation, and I was always on my computer. And she's like, "Why are you always on your computer?" I'm like, "Listen, I have a business to run." She's like, "Why don't you hire somebody?" So that's what I did. That's how
Start delegating. And I mean, that's the only way we can vacation comfortably,
yeah.
right? There's nothing wrong with taking that computer out. It's just what are we doing when we take that computer out that matters. So now that you have, this amount of track record in your cleaning business and, how many employees do you currently have?
Right now in the field, I have about 22, plus I have some supporting staff,
Yeah.
and I have administrative staff. I also have marketing. I have some freelancers that I work with on the marketing side. I have a company that I work with on the reputation management and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean,
So that's a good amount of people, right? It's a good
yeah,
amount of people to lead. What was the difference or what was the hardest thing about going from 0 to 100K in your experience?
was the hardest thing from going to 0 to 100K. You know what? It was just I don't know if I can pinpoint a specific point, but it's actually probably harder to go from 0 to 10K than to go from 10K to 100K. If you,
I
you know,
agree.
I'm exaggerating, but essentially once the ball is rolling, it's rolling. The hardest thing is to get it rolling. So that was probably the hardest period, when the business was in the infantry, right? When it was just
In
starting
the trenches.
in the trenches, exactly. That
Yeah.
if you survive that, you know, you will flourish, right? You have to survive that stage once your business becomes not a prime. Prime is already the ball is running. Or when it's or you just need to maintain it. You just need to maintain the system, but the system is doing the work, right? But to get to the prime, that's when you have the biggest chance of. That's when most businesses die, right? So you just have to get it to that stage, and then you can kind of have it on autopilot, and you can start something else. That's what I'm doing right now, and we can talk about that in a few.
Yeah. And so what systems? So let's get a little bit about systems, because at the level that you're in, being a seven-figure cleaning company with leading 20 plus people takes systems and processes to be able to have everything be running smoothly. What systems have changed your business throughout the years? And what are some systems that you're currently using that is working for you to be able to lead that amount of people?
Okay, so there's one system, but there are a bunch of tools within that system. The biggest game changer tool that I've implemented is an org chart. So number one, number one thing in my world of business philosophy is delegation. Delegate, delegate, delegate. The more you delegate, the more you grow. People afraid to hire people and to give them, to delegate functions to them. But if you do it the right, because they're afraid, oh, nobody's going to do it the way I do it. Like there's a huge Russian misconception that nobody can do it the way I can do it. So that's why I do everything. You know,
Yeah.
it's
I think
I
that's
mean
everywhere.
it's everywhere, right?
Especially
Exactly.
in the cleaning industry, it's like no one's gonna clean the way that I do, so
Exactly.
they stay as cleaners. But
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
cutting you off.
But if you develop the people that you hire, if you hire the right way, right? So for every function, there is a methodology of doing things, right? Goes from standard operating procedures through training, through culture to quality control, right? So, it once you hire the right person, you train them the right way, you provide the standard operating procedure, you train on that standard operating procedure, you test them on it, you install the right set of mind and the right culture in that person will perform, especially if the past 3 months. Remember how we said, like, if the business gets to prime, it doesn't fail for the most of the time. Same thing with people. I find if people stay with me for 3 months, right? If I didn't make a mistake on hiring, if they stay with me for 3 months, they stay with me for years, right?
I agree.
Yeah, so that's just one part. That's just part of what I hope that answers your question. But this is how the system works. So you create an asset. As a business owner, your job is to create assets. Assets are the tools that you create. These are standard operating procedures, these are training procedures, cleaning methodology. You have to be the biggest expert on your product, right? On your service. So theoretically, I'm the business, and practically, probably, I'm the biggest expert on cleaning. But it doesn't mean that I'm doing the cleaning, but I'm the biggest expert on it, right? Because I developed the methodology. That's my role as a business owner.
Correct. Yeah, and I think you're hitting a good point, because we do get to a point where we start understanding people a lot better, and then we get to communicate with them, and they will stay with you longer if they get the proper training, the proper communication, and especially they're a part of the values of the company. Right? What are things that you do that keeps your team motivated to continue providing the quality of service that you're wanting your customers to receive? The Cleaning Journey podcast is brought to you by Jobber, the all-in-one CRM built for service pros. From scheduling and payments to quoting and marketing, Jobber makes it simple to manage your business and impress your clients. I use it every day, and it's one of the biggest reasons my business runs smoothly. Try Jobber today with the link in the description down below. Try Jobber today by using the link down below. You can get 14 days free, then 20% off for the next 6 months. You have nothing to lose.
Sure. So we have an incentive system, obviously. Have you seen the movie? What was the movie with Michelle Pfeiffer? Dangerous Minds, where she
I
came
have not.
teacher. So anyway, so she came as a teacher to this troubled high school, right? And I remember it stuck with me. She said, as of now, everybody has an A. All you have to do is keep it, right? So in my team, everybody has a bonus. All they have to do is keep it. If they don't follow the procedure, if they get a complaint that they took a shortcut, or they didn't do what they were supposed to do, or they didn't do quality control, right? Even if they left the towel behind, right? and the client calls and say, "Oh, you left a towel behind," that tells me that they didn't do quality control, they didn't follow the process, they didn't follow the
Yeah.
procedure. They get the bonus. They get the bonus hanged, right? So just an example. So every week, everybody gets a bonus. If we find out something that is outside of our culture, outside of our values, or they cut a corner somewhere, or they didn't communicate the right way they're supposed to, and they know they're supposed to communicate a certain way, right? Or God forbid we catch them in lying or being dishonest, then we take discipline actions. But other than that, we have a bonus structure. We have team outings. We have a meeting every week. Dina is leading the meeting. I constantly reiterate the process, even though for 10 years I can say the same thing during the meeting, but it stays with you. It stays with them, right? Because the
Yeah.
repetition is key. If you repeat, not only it sticks with them, it also drives the point across that it's very important.
1000%. I'm with you on that. It's very important what you just said. We might think that they're going to retain what you're telling them 3 months from now, but it's the repetition of explaining to them the process, the values, what's expected from them, because there is a chart of how their performance would flow, right? We want them to be like this. What we don't want is for them to
Yeah.
just drop off out of nowhere and forget what we taught them. So, yeah, I'm a huge believer of you need to repeat to them, we're very similar, Boris, because it seems like the pay structure that you have, for us, we call it the performance pay. So, yeah, if you don't do if you have a complaint, if you're not reliable, you're going to miss that bonus. You're going to miss that pay. And having those meetings consistently, having that environment that shows like, hey, we don't play around here, right? Like, we're really trying to hit new levels, and the only way we can do that is when everybody does their part. Being a company that you are right now on the size, what do you think has been like a challenge of yours? Because as we know, they say getting to your first million is the hardest, but getting to the second, it's a lot easier. What has been a challenge for you now being a seven-figure cleaning business owner?
Well, I don't know if I have a challenge being the cleaning business owner, but that's where I want to transition to be more of a mentor to other business owners, right? So I've been thinking about franchising for a while because I believe I have an amazing system, right? I have a system that is documented, that can be mentored, that can be trained. And I think that anybody can do this. And that's how I want to scale. I want to scale with all due respect. I cannot open 20 other VepoCleans nationwide, right? You still need a local presence to open a local business like that, a home service business, right? And that's how I want to scale. So I want to scale through franchising, and that's where I'm kind of I've been building the framework for it. There's like a lot of legal stuff that I had to do, and starting April, I started actually pitching the franchise. So far, we only have one in Utah, but I'm hoping that will take off. And again, same logic, right? Once I get to 10, it will just take off. It's getting to those 10 is the biggest challenge, and that's my biggest challenge right now. But I relate it to the cleaning business, right? Because this I think about it. The way I think about it is I'm scaling my business that I have now, and that's the only way I can scale, like really scale, right? You got to think big, right? So I want to have, I want to compete with Merry Maids. I want to compete with e-maids, and they have hundreds of locations nationwide. So that's kind of my next challenge is. That's
Yeah.
where I am.
And in order to get there, Boris, I'm sure you can agree, and I would love to know your insight on this, is that you need to have a solid operation system to be able to have a turnkey business anywhere else. To our listeners that are a handful of years in the cleaning business, and they're running their cleaning business day by day, but they don't have those operate. Tell us about the why they should have it, and how they can work themselves into getting a well-structured operating system so that their business doesn't depend on them.
Yeah. So I think the biggest underlying reason is everything has to be predictable, right? Because if you're not predictable, if you make decisions ad hoc, if you make decisions just, at the spur of the moment, first of all, you will not retain good people, right? People like predictability. People like to work in a system, and the system that is being predictable, even if you have to punish them, right? They will perceive it as if it's not you that's punishing them, it's the system, because they know it's the system, right? You're just another puzzle, you're just another piece in the puzzle, and they are too. So that predictability is key. Right? But in order to have that predictability, everything you got to have everything written out. You have everything trained, everything tested, right, on those people. Because I have, like, my people are certified. Right, once they go through a certain training period, they get certified. With the written test, with the practical tests. Right, we have train. Excuse me. We have trainings every 2 or 3 months, right? And they understand that everything is set at the meeting. It's documented, right? And they're responsible for everything that is being said at the meeting. So if we say something in the meeting, and it's obviously it was documented before, because the agenda is sent, the agenda is automatically, whether they listen or they don't listen, automatically they're responsible, right? So it's not me penalizing them, it's them penalizing themselves, right?
Correct.
Because I don't think our program, our system is that complicated that they don't have to, that they can follow those, the framework of it, right? If they follow the framework, everybody's happy. They happy. I see people, like all these cleaning companies, they have huge turnovers. They always have problems with people. We have people work with us for years, and that's something about the system, I think.
Yeah, 1000%. If the system is clear, like I always say, just keep it simple. If you keep it simple, you can explain it to a 10-year-old. They can follow it. Not that we want to think of our employees as 10-year-olds, but when you build something, you want it to be so easy to explain it that your team can do it within each other, right? You can have your team training the new people because the system is just so easy to duplicate.
Mhm.
No, with because that's all great information, right? Is having an easy system to implement so that they could follow it. Now, how can a new business owner, let's say 3, 5 years in the business, like how can they get started on implementing, having a good operation system for their business? Because I'm
So
just thinking about like, it's easier said than done, right? But there's always challenges as where we're building things up and we get distracted as business owners where we want to do all of these things all at once. And many times, as you start growing, you start really noticing where to put your time. So where could that cleaning business owner that's been 3 to 5 years in the industry, where should they be putting their time so that they have a good operation system?
So I would start with defining a mission statement. Like, my mission statement is in my office everywhere. Not everywhere, but it's on the main wall, right? On the main wall, written on the wall, my mission statement. It's actually one of the questions on the test. They taken the test in the office. So the first question: what is our mission statement word for word? And all they have to do is copy it from the wall. I mean, just an example. So start with the mission statement. They have to understand the why, and and what, right, what we do and why we do it, right, and what is their role in it. So actually, whenever I hire a person, especially if it's either administrative role or like a logistics role, or even cleaners, I had 2 meetings in the past probably year and a half on our org chart, because they have to understand where they fit into the whole operation, because they think I'm just sitting home and picking my nose all day, right? Whereas there's much more to the business than to just cleaning, right? They think, you know how it is. They all think, oh, they work and we just collect the money, right?
Yeah, we're just hanging out at home with their feet
Exactly.
up.
Yeah. So the first and the main thing is to define the mission statement, right? Then sit down and write out standard operating procedures and a training manual, right? So when you hire, and I will do this for every function within the business, right? Obviously for cleaners, for salespeople, scripts, processes, internal controls, like all that stuff has to be documented. The training manual, define your the hiring manual, right? The hiring procedure, the hiring methodology. What kind of people you want to hire? What kind of questions you want to ask? How you going to make your decision? How long is going to be, and what will involve in their training, in their trial period? How you going to certify them? How you going to make sure that they're going to perform, right? So I would start with writing out the procedures, the processes, and the mission statement. And of course, you need a employee manual with a culture, what they can do, what they cannot do. But that's part of my operations manual that I give them. because when we sit down for training, first 2 hours, we just read the manual. Yes, I distribute the manual when I hire them, but when I bring them in for training, like I only do training after like a week, right? I put them in a team of 3 just to see. I don't want to waste my time. If they're not the right fit, if I made a mistake during the interview, I'm giving them like a week to work in a team of 3. Our usual is team of 2. And then on a Saturday, I bring them to the house and Dina does the full training with them. First of all, they already know a little bit of stuff. They already know a little bit of a process. They already know what the job entails, whether they want to continue or not. Because before I had people like, when my eye wasn't as sharp, like, people would come in for one day and they wouldn't come back, because it was too hard or whatever. So I bring them in for training. First 2 hours, they sit and they read the manual, right? Because I can't count on them to read at home when I just give it to them. I want to make sure they read. And then we just go through the process, whatever's in the manual. Dina trains them in every room and every situation. Obviously, they still obviously they still train with the experience. You can't cover everything during training, right? So the first couple of months, they're on the minimum wage, they're without a bonus. They start receiving a bonus after 3 months. They start receiving vacation pay after 3 months, so after they get certified, actually. So I
Yeah.
certified after 3 months.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly said on where can you get started. It's very important to start where the heart is, and that is the cleaners, right? If the cleaners show up and they know why they need to show up, then getting sales, doing marketing, doing all of that other stuff will give you peace of mind to do those things because the cleaners know what they need to be doing. So yeah, get the onboarding process so that that is all figured out. Everybody knows what they need to do. Yeah, I think that's great. How has now that we, having good people, having solid people that stay, they know our operation system, they know the mission statement.
Mhm.
Communication, I believe, well, for me was one of the toughest things about being a business owner was how to communicate, constantly communicate with different types of personalities, right? You have people coming in. How do you talk to them? How do you communicate not only with your team, but with your office team and with the clients? How has your leadership style evolved since you started? Like, what are those leadership qualities that you've acquired to be able to lead the size of team that you have? Hey, real quick, do me a solid. Just like, subscribe, and share it with another cleaning business owner. We want to grow this community together because when we all learn together, the industry becomes stronger. Let's get back to our guest.
Still have to work on it, obviously. It's an ongoing process, but I communicate with 2 people in my company. I communicate with the people that communicate with everybody else. So I hire outside. This is not my skill. I'm not a communicator. Like, I'm not a salesperson. I'm not a communicator. I can build processes. I can build systems, right? But I'm not good with clients. Usually when I get involved with clients, I make it worse than it was before, you
That's
know?
the first time I've ever heard that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that,
Yeah, so
yeah,
because I'm emotionally attached, emotionally attached to the business. So
yeah.
so I don't deal with clients.
I
And I don't
couldn't.
deal with them easy.
Sorry for cutting you off. I just want to add to that. Like, I had an operations manager before, and she wouldn't let me fire people because I would suck at it. Like, I would give people second, third chances because they would just cry in front of me, and I'm like, oh no, this is not my strong suit. So then I was like, I am not going to ever fire anybody because I can't do it. So, sorry, but it just reminded me because we do have strengths and weaknesses, right? For me was firing. So for you is talking to customers, you would just make it worse.
To the customers, yeah, like even to the staff, because a lot of all of my staff are Spanish speaking. Very few speak good English, and I don't speak Spanish. Like, I learned maybe like 20 words, and I haven't progressed since because I feel like in order to progress, I got to take classes, and I didn't get to that yet. So we have a function called dispatch. So dispatch is actually a liaison between the staff and the clients, right? So she's a Spanish speaker, she's an English speaker. She's the one that does the operations in terms of like customer support, like if the employee support, if the staff has an issue at the job, if the equipment is broken or they can't get access, or anything, or if they break something by accident, God forbid. So they deal with her. And then I have another function within that organization that we call it a call center. She's also bilingual and she does sales, but she also supervises. She's a manager of the dispatcher. It was like a
Are
part.
these people you have in house?
No, yeah, I have them in house. I have them in house. Yeah, I have them in house full time, but they're remote, right?
Okay, got it.
They're not
Are they international?
international. Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yes. So then I have a person who does the scheduling because the schedule is a full time job itself, right? More than a full time job because people schedule, reschedule, cancel, request. I need an emergency. I have an emergency. Like all kinds of situation. Then you have to shovel everything around. It just becomes a nightmare. She also does
Yeah.
upselling. Like she does upselling. She upsells add-ons, upsells whatever, and that's she has an incentive. Like if she upsells, she gets like all of my call center staff, they all get an incentive in the end of the month. If we hit certain targets, we get an incentive, right? Which is sometimes like more than a week of their salary, right? Or 2 weeks of their salary, something like this month was amazing. It was like 2 weeks of their salary. So again, goes back to incentivizing people, right? Then we have another person. She's like a data entry. She does billing. She does invoicing. She enters the client. We use Jobber. I don't know what you guys use for your
Yeah, Jobber.
use
Jobber. Shout
Jobber.
out to Jobber.
Yeah,
We've had them 4+ years. They've been great.
yeah. So she creates jobs in Jobber. She makes notes. She creates visits. She bills. We bill inside Jobber. She creates invoicing. So those functions are all separate. And they all, disperse within the call center. Then we have Dina, my first employee. She's like my second mom. She's doing quality control. She's retired already, but she does quality control. She's the amazing mentor. She's probably the best cleaner in the world, and I'm not exaggerating. She is, and she's great. She's amazing with people. She's just amazing. She just has she just has this effect on the girls that she's like a mom to them. I respect her. She's like, so you know what a soft power is?
Yeah.
Never yells, right? The more mad she gets, the softer she speaks.
And then if you know her, then you'll know when she's like, "Oh,
Yeah. Yeah,
mama's
mi
mad."
amor, she's like mi amor, mi niño, she always talks to me. She's like my second mom. So, yeah, so she does like when she's around, like I'm pretty comfortable with my position with when she wasn't here because there was some times when she wasn't around, she's going back to El Salvador for like 4 or 5 months. I still feel like the system is doing the job, is doing its job in controlling everything. But when Dina is around, I'm completely relaxed because I know Dina's got it.
Yeah.
So
It's good to have a Dina around.
exactly. Exactly.
Shout out to Dinas out there. So you have this, which we're very similar, which it makes sense because I mean, to get to 7 figures, you gotta have certain things in place. Especially, me and you could agree, Boris, that when you have one person that does the scheduling, the invoicing, the sales, all of these things, like if they call out, we're back in the business. We're back in there taking calls, doing the thing. So it's always best to hire one person to be great at that part of what's required of the business to be able to function. Like you said, scheduling 1000%. I mean, once you're scheduling hundreds of jobs and you got dozens of cleaners, you things change. People call out, there's flat tires and things like that. So people need to reschedule. What about your sales? Like, do you have a specific person that, because you mentioned call center a few times, like, are those your salespeople? And do they have a home base, like a dashboard where you can see how your sales are tracked and you know that they're following up on the right people?
Yeah, so I'm huge on automation. I have a lot of follow-ups are done through automation, and I get a lot of jobs back through automation. Like, somebody ghosted you today, but in the month they get a message and they book. So a lot of my website does a lot of selling because I have the whole booking engine on the website. I also have they can request an estimate on the website. They can book on the website. They can also request a quote on the website. They can reach out for a quote through text message, or email. We do a lot of sales through text messaging, right? So initially, the automation takes over, right? So when they fill out a form, I have an automation sending them out the greeting with a couple of questions, like within 2 minutes. It's super important. You lose 60% chance of losing a job If you don't respond to a client or prospect within 3 minutes, you know that, I'm sure. You're smiling, so you
Oh,
know. Yeah.
yeah, 1000%.
Yeah.
It's I when I first started, and I don't wanna lose track on where you're at, but, like, when I first started, I called 55 cleaning companies, and I got 5 call backs. Like, it was ridiculous on how people do not follow up
Mhm.
on a potential lead. But
Right.
yes, you got a couple minutes to get it their attention because 'cause they're calling other people,
Yeah,
obviously.
exactly. Yeah, and that's when it itches, right? It itches now. They want the cleaning now. 10 minutes later, it's not going to itch anymore. You got to scratch the itch, right?
Yes,
Oh,
scratch it quick. They have a
scratch the itch.
need, and
Exactly.
they need it solved now. Are you uncertain about what you're doing in your cleaning business that's not taking you to the next level? Or you might feel like what you're doing is not the right things. It is okay. That's why I'm here. I help cleaning business owners just like you get the right answers, put good systems and processes to grow your business with confidence. Without confidence, you cannot be a business owner and lead your people. Click the link down below to schedule a free call. We'll talk all business and I can give you the right steps for you to take to give you that confidence back. I cannot wait to connect with you.
Yes. So yeah, so we have automation. Once they reply to the automation, then we take over manually. So during the business hours, our salesperson who's in the office, she has templates. She sends out. We have pricing models based on the answers. We give them a quote, right, and we close them. Usually we sell the job right there. If not, if they ghost us, like we send them a quote and they ghost us, we start nurturing them, right? We start a nurturing campaign also through text message, right? So we send them a follow up next day. 2 days. We're not being annoying, but after they don't respond after 3 times, we start chill and we do it every 2 weeks maybe or every month. And a lot of times they come back, because it starts itching again. They're not happy with the cleaner they hired for cheaper or whatever, and we're not the cheapest. Like we're not even closely to be. We cater to higher end clients. Like our prices are up there. And people don't mind paying because people pay for the peace of mind, they pay for the experience, they pay for quality. They understand that it takes resources to retain people, to have a call center, that they can constantly during business hours. They see the quality control that comes around and does quality control and mentors them on the job. So people are willing to pay a premium.
Yeah. It's good to have that ideal client so that you know you can be confident, right, in pricing them accordingly. Can you share who like, what are these automations that, like, do you use a specific
I
program?
build it myself. I have a lot of technology background, so I just build them myself. Whatever was too complicated, I just hired a freelancer. Right. So when the form comes in, the system recognizes the form comes in, looks at the fields, sends a text message. Pretty straightforward. I mean, it's just regular automation using Zapier, using spreadsheets, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. Automate your business. Those of you listening, if you do not have a business that is automated, you're not going to be able to scratch that itch of that customer that is wanting to get serviced by your business. They're just going to look elsewhere. So I think that that's great. If the listeners can implement just one thing from your journey today, what would that be? Which you gave a lot of great, right? You have the onboarding process, have the automation, have the mission statement so that they know what to follow. You know, considering all of those great things, is there something else that you would share to the cleaning journey?
You know why? You know why I'm struggling to answer this question because there's no one thing. It's the system that's working together. It's like an engine, right? You take out one piece of the engine, it's either will malfunction, it's not going to work at all, right? Or it's going to work bad. So I would say implement a system. That's one thing. I know it's very general, right? But you implement the system, you define every function. Like I have on my wall in the office, I have a perfect cleaning company, right? Defined with all the functions written out, with people attached to those functions, with the valuable final product for each function. And that's part of my training.
Nice.
So, and that's why, that's what I want to bring to the world. That's why I want, many VepoCleans everywhere, right? I can replicate that. I can train that because that's the basis of my training for my franchising, right? We train, all those training manuals that they just give out. I mean, yes, we have a training manual, but the base and the underlying, way of thinking, right, is that org chart with every function. And guess what? You can implement those functions for any business. It doesn't have to be cleaning. For any business like Apple, Google, Fortune 500 companies, consciously or subconsciously, they use the same approach because every single function, it's a life cycle. It's a life cycle. There are seven of them, seven core ones. And then within those seven, you have like 50 to 100 more little ones that actual what people do every day, right? But it's that system, it's that framework. That's what makes it work for me.
It's great advice. Yes, you gotta have your ducks all aligned, and I'm sure we can get deeper into this org chart, and we'll share some information down below on how to get more information from Boris on those org charts, and we're gonna do a rapid fire we've been doing here in the cleaning journey, where I'm gonna ask you 5 questions, and then you're gonna respond it in one word. Okay?
One word?
Yes, one word.
Okay, I'll try.
A system every cleaning company should have.
System?
Yes.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding.
Yeah, a system every cleaning business owner should have.
Written, documented, document.
Documented system. Okay.
It's the
Best.
word.
I agree. Yeah, you got to document your systems. Best way to show clients you care.
Best way to show clients you care. Go an extra mile. Do like extra step. Take an extra step a little bit.
Take an extra step. Leadership in one word.
Treating people.
Retain with culture or with pay.
Culture. 100%. I can expand on that if you like.
Yeah, please do so.
Okay, so my philosophy, right? Not that I made it up. I read it somewhere and I liked it, so I wanna share it. There are four types of employees. Four types of employees, and you'll see when I define each type. You will look at your staff and you will see which type they belong to. Number one, the best employees, level one, right? Those people that believe in the mission, that do it for it's their obligation. It's their obligation. It's their call of duty, right? It's call of duty. They don't work for pay. They don't work for whatever. It's their call of duty, right? That's the best people you want to have, and I'm sure you have a few of those, right? They feel we call it an owner's eye sometimes, right? Person is almost like an owner, but he's a hired employee, right? So these are the first people, right? The first level, right? Second level of people, it's not the call of duty, but anything they do, it's in their nature to be the best at it. So, for example, an accountant, right? He wants to be the best accountant in the world for himself, right? Like, it doesn't matter where they work, right? Whether they work for a firm or they work for Ernst& Young or they work for a bank, they want to be the best accountant in the world, right? Still a very good, still a very strong employee, right? But it's not quite the level one. Level three, those employees for whom it's convenient. It's convenient to work in that place, right? Whether it's close to their house, the hours are nice. They take their kids to kindergarten, or they work. By the time the kindergarten are done by 3, they finish. So it's convenient for them to work for this company. They don't care for what company to work for, but it's convenient for them to work for this one, so they work for you, right? And the last motivation is the monetary one. Those people that come for the paycheck. Those people are usually the hardest to deal with. Those people the hardest to please, and they'll leave. Somebody gives them 50 cents more. So the money is the lowest motivator in my.
How do you
It's not the driving factor. It shouldn't be the driving factor.
Yeah, and that's powerful. I think it's very important to know those so that we could interview better. Do you put certain qualified questions so that you can find the right person?
You know what? I always have like almost by now. I still meet with every single cleaner because I have to feel their energy. I meet them in the office. I have Sophie on a Zoom call and we meet. So by now I almost have like you define your perfect cleaner. Like you take your best employee in cleaning and you just hire the same. You just try to find the same energy, right? The same type of people, and that's the key to successful hiring, in my opinion, right?
Simple.
Humble. You don't want any leaders on your cleaning team, right? You don't want any leaders. You want humble, quiet people, right? That in general, that's my profile of an employee, and I've been very successful in hiring the right people.
Did you find your unicorn employee that you have, and then you just kind of replicate?
Replicate, exactly. You try to replicate. Yeah, you try to. Yeah, even if they look the same, it's still a plus in my book.
Yeah. 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 Hiring, like we know, in order to get to the next level, we need to have good people. The quality needs to stay the same, right? It can be different when Maria goes versus Denise goes. It needs to be the same.
Yes,
And,
that's
and
character,
you'll need,
but that's also your procedures. It's also your training, right? Because
yeah.
if they follow the procedure, whether the Denise or whatever other main name you mentioned should be the same. Yes,
Yes,
and there are differences, could potentially be differences in the person that does it, but generally, if they follow the procedure, it should be the same.
for sure. And if you're asking yourself, listener, if you're asking yourself like how, how can I create these operation system, this training while I'm still the cleaner? I think you have so much advantage right there because while you're doing the cleaning, you can start implementing what you're doing into a piece of paper. Like you said, document, right? You can document what you're doing and then be able to then put that into your training so that you can train people so you can get out of the cleaning because you're going to be capped if you're doing the cleaning, right,
Asset.
Boris?
You're creating an asset, right? I like
Exactly.
I'll go back to like even on my wall, like I have a bunch of reminders and framed in the office. We have a bunch of like culture like reminders. One of the reminders, if it's not documented, it never happened, or if
Mhm.
it's written, it never happened. If you didn't take a picture, you don't have a case against the client. Then we have to give in. Unless you have a picture, unless you have some sort of documentation, in a document or in Jobber or a note, it never happened. So it has to be, yeah, words mean nothing.
Yeah. So let's go back to that last question. One word. First word that comes to mind when you hear starting from zero.
Start it right.
Started
Start
right.
start creating the system from day one. Start
Yeah.
thinking about creating the system from day one. Because if you get caught up in day to day, you'll never grow.
I'm
You'll
with
have
you,
no time.
Boris.
You'll have no time for creating something bigger.
No, you'll just be burnt out, especially if you have kids, you have a spouse, like that takes a lot of energy, right? So the name of the game is reoccurring income. The second is delegate. Delegate everything so like you could then start doing what Boris is doing, franchise if you'd like, or just relax, put your feet up because you're able to do that because you put all the hard work, right? So
But you great assets. Assets work for you.
yeah,
Like, I wish I had more assets, like, when it comes to real estate at the right time. I didn't create
yeah.
those assets, but as far as, business assets, these are the things that you do, things that you document, things that you think about and you systemize, that becomes your asset.
For sure. To your numbers, because we're talking about assets, just kind of popped in my head. For us, a new cleaner that shows up and is reliable, they can bring about 65 to $70,000 a year in income in revenue. What do you know yours in New
But
York?
you know what? I never thought about it this way. Yeah, I never thought about it this way. That's an interesting point, but I never thought about this way. I just know that my labor percentage to my revenue percentage is about 45%.
Which is good.
Yeah,
Great
but I
number.
never thought about like, how much cleaner brings in. Never thought about that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that goes hand in hand with having a good onboarding process because if you hire good people, that one person that you spent an hour or 2 hours with, they can bring $70,000 a year to
Right.
your business if you keep them busy. Just because thinking of asset, it really
Do you,
is
do
an
you have
asset.
do you have two-person teams or one person that goes to every
We do about 80% of our jobs in one person.
person? Do you have houses? You have like you have like one family houses or multifamily apartments?
We do mainly houses. So
Yeah.
our average house would be about 2,500 square feet, three
Okay. They
bedroom, two
drive, right?
bath.
They drive to the clean a drive,
Correct.
and you pay them for mileage or whatever.
Yeah, we pay for mileage in their bonus pay. We do the pay by performance. So if they perform well, they
Mhm.
get paid all together on how they perform that week. So we update our pay structure not pay structure, but we update their pay every single week. So Monday through Sunday, depending on how you perform, if you had a complaint, then you'll get dinged for that for your pay that week, but you start all over on Monday. So it gives the opportunity to start again. But yeah, it's a powerful way of paying. We pay the best, 1,000%. We pay the highest here in Arizona, and we're just grateful for that because we want to give back to our team, but also incentivize them to go that extra mile, to give that extra effort, right?
Do you usually do one house per day or two?
They do about 2.
You do
2
two.
is the max for, a solo cleaner. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah, and the reason why we did that is because we get the opportunity to provide more hours to them, right? And when it's a team of two, usually it cuts off their day so in half. And but we do offer teams of two for those one-time cleanings, those move-ins and move-outs that are really bad. We would put two people there, get it ready for maintenance, and then whoever has availability on the schedule on those two cleaners, we put them on that cleaning themselves. And our cleaners are averaging about 6 hours per day of cleaning, and that gives them their 30 hours that they're
They
kind of
can do
looking for.
they can do two houses in 6 hours. That's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, 2, yeah, 3 hour 3 hours a house.
Really?
Um, yeah,
We all get a little bit more time than
yeah, especially for every 2 weeks, our average
by
every
average.
2 weeks, it's about 3 hours per cleaning. If it's weekly, we're doing about 2 hours, and then our monthly cleans are either we can put 2 people in there because it does require more cleaning, but if it's 1 cleaner, it'd be maybe 4 hours on 1 cleaning. So they, obviously our cleaners want more hours. They're hustlers and, they like the flexible schedule, but they also like that bigger paycheck. And so we decided to go that solo cleaner model, and honestly it's been fantastic. Plus it gives me the ability to use the people more effectively, right? If I can have
I wish I
one,
could be one person, but I can't.
are you guys' units a lot bigger?
Not that they're a lot bigger. It's just we have maleta. This is Spanish. Like we have a suitcase. We carry. We
Oh, la
don't have
maleta,
cars.
yes.
Yeah, we call it a maleta. Yeah,
Yeah, la
suitcase with
maleta.
equipment. Like we have a bunch of equipment. Then we have some apartments. You have to go to the second or third floor. Some apartments, some houses, they have stairs. They don't drive. So we take Uber, or we have two vehicles. We actually work like in my market. It's kind of highly populated and it's urban or rural. What do you call a city? Urban, right?
I that's a
Anyway,
I don't even know.
anyway.
I think it is urban.
So yeah, so we utilize Uber a lot.
Yeah,
So we have a handful of people that agreed to work solo and get paid more. So sometimes we utilize them, but we have restrictions, like it has to be an elevator building, and it has to be no more than 3 1 bedrooms or 2 2 bedrooms or 2 3 bedrooms a day. So we have those. Right now we have two unit teams most of the time. Yeah.
2 unit teams. Yeah. They work faster. They do. One thing that I found out, a lot of cleaners, they do like working in a team environment, but they enjoy being by themselves, kind of getting that full accomplishment of like, I cleaned this house by myself, which what I like about that is that I can keep them accountable for the work they did. Cause I'm sure you can relate to like, they usually point the finger is like, oh, so and so, that was her area.
We cut that out. No one doesn't happen. Like the excuses that Jenny cleaned the bathroom or I cleaned the kitchen or there was no reception don't work for us. Like it's 2025. There's a reception. If you go to if you go to the grave, there's going to be reception there.
Yeah, 1000%. Oh, that's hilarious. Thank you so much, Boris. I do
Uh,
appreciate your time. You gave so much value, brother. Is there something, where can people connect with you and follow your journey?
Go on our website, follow. I don't know if I have a journey there, but there's a lot of insight on the franchising website. So I encourage them to go to the franchising. And if they think about, me working with them as a mentor, having my brand, having our system, working for them rather than they working for their business, contact us about franchising. I'll be your partner.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Boris. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
your
I
time,
love it.
brother.
I love it. Yeah, man. Good talking
Thank
to
you
you.
so
Thank
much.
you. Be in touch. Thanks, man.
If you got value out of this episode and you took some notes, that is fantastic. You're one step closer to success. Now, do me a favor and share it with another cleaning business owner so that we can all learn together. My goal is to bring real stories from real cleaning business owners so that we can grow this industry together. So if you'd like that, please like and share, and I would really appreciate it. And I'll see you on the next episode.